And now we're going to focus more on the financial side, which I think is very important. If you don't know who I am, my name is Noorhan, and I'm the founder of a company called Noor Coaching. I just launched it in September. There's a little bit of stuff about me on the screen. I do a little bit of stuff here and there other than my business. What I will be focusing on this session. First, I'm going to build the ground on why financial planning is important for a startup, for a business. Largely, it's important for anything, to be honest, but in essence, we're going to focus on the entrepreneurial part and why is it important for you and for your business. Then I'm going to focus on key areas that you need to pay attention. Now, every time I cover a session around financial planning, around funding, around any of that, people say, I don't have a financial background. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be impossible. What we are going to share in the session is not rocket science. There's plenty of available resources that makes your life easier. So even if your background is not finance, it does not matter. I'm going to speak to you about funding sources, and then I'm going to speak to you about break even and growth. First of all, I always like to lay the ground of if I'm going to open a business. There are so many people who did startups before, and the people who did the startups before either succeeded or they failed, but there is a big proportion of startups that fail. Now, if I want to be successful with my startup, the first thing I should do is to find out what happened to the other startups who were like mine, the ones who opened businesses similar to mine. So if you do a bit of research about startups in general globally, you're going to notice that quite a large percentage fails, but they fail for 7 fundamental reasons. The first and the biggest reason is that there is insufficient money. So they have the funding, they have a good business idea, they launched the business, they put in all the effort, but then the startup fails because they don't manage the money correctly. Now, there are other reasons at the top of the list. So maybe there's no customer demand, maybe the management isn't very good. But if you see, the number one reason is always around the financing, is always around the financial elements. So it is extremely important that before I decide to launch a business, that I establish how am I going to fund it, I establish how am I going to keep this business alive, because nobody wants to put in all the effort into building a startup, and then a couple of months later, because of a money issue, they have to close it down, they have to let go of the employees. So in essence, what has made other businesses fail? You have all the reasons on the screen, but I'm going to focus on the green one, the one in the middle, which is they fail mainly because of insufficient money. Now, if they fail because of insufficient money, that means financial planning is not just important, financial planning is crucial. And if, khalas, I've established last time that let's say you have a business idea, then if you have a business idea, then you need to set up financial goals. Don't go up and say, okay, I need funding, I need my business to be really big, I need this, I need that. You need to establish what are your financial goals. What are you trying to arrive at from this business? Yes, we are all trying to make money, but we need to be realistic. If you're opening a restaurant, or if you're opening a tech startup, or you're opening a consultancy firm similar to mine, the financial goals are going to be different. So first, what is your financial goals? And I'm going to dig into how you can establish those goals. Then when I know the financial goals, I cannot get into a market without understanding what is the financial position or the situation in that market. So when I go into the financial situation, I need to understand, let's say you're going to open a business in Bahrain. It's very different than if you were opening up a business in Saudi Arabia, or it's very different if you're opening up a business in the USA. The paying capacity of the client is different. The income levels are different. The potential for business growth is different because of the market size. So I need to understand what is the financial position of the industry that I'm going to launch in. And additionally, I need to also understand the second layer, which is what is happening in the economy generally. Is it a plus side in the economy now? Is the economy booming? Is there spending? People are growing? Or is it a part when people are saving their money, they don't want to spend, they're going to be hesitant? So I also need to understand a little bit about an economic backdrop. Now, if I don't have this or that, there are a million people who continuously share this information, and it's available publicly for free, which you can log on and you can try to do. With your financial goals, please, with anything that I'm going to say today, you have to be as realistic as possible. So if I'm going to launch a business and I'm launching it in today, I cannot say that after 1 month, I'm going to have a 50 to 100% growth in my client base. How? It's just been a month. I haven't landed in the market. I haven't really established a client base yet. My marketing hasn't really landed. So in essence, I also have to be very realistic about what I'm expecting of myself and the business, but also what I'm expecting of the market and what's in the market. When I have my assumptions and I have my financial plans, I have to create scenarios. The market is not always going to work in my favor. And also sometimes it works better than I expect. So I establish a realistic scenario. So I'm going to give you an example of what I did for my financial plans before I launched my company. I did a base scenario, which is like the normal scenario, and I was being quite conservative with it. I did a worst case scenario, and I did a best case scenario, right? And then I got to understand, if everything went as I planned, this will be the level that I can achieve. If I do a little bit better, I have a growth potential, which is excellent. But if things go very not well, I also have a downward, and I need to understand that I'm able to handle the downward or not. Or is the downward too much for me as an entrepreneur? It's something that I cannot sustain at this point in time. And finally, I'm going to move on to implementing my plan. Now, these financial goals, these financial plans, the budgets, the ideas about the financial plan is widely available on the internet. So if you want to set up 5-year projections for your business, there are templates available on Microsoft Excel for free. You can download the Excel, there are plug-in numbers, you can use them. There are other websites that launch this information for free. You can download it and see how another business did it, so you can see how your business does it. So it's not that I need to start the Excel sheet from scratch, but I have the inputs for the Excel sheet. I decide what I want in terms of my numbers and what I'm going to do. Now, this is just a backdrop, but number one is defining the financial goals. But the second part, which is the most important part on the screen, is 2, 3, and 4, and 5. These are things that you're going to have to do together right at the get-go, and they're extremely important. Now, you have 2 ways of launching a startup. One, which is go big and go home, or go home, right? And we see a lot of entrepreneurs who like to do that. So they want to go big, they want to spend, they want office, they want 50 employees, they want to launch big on marketing, Now, this is one model that could work if you are maybe a wealthy entrepreneur to start with, or you have a lot of cushion to spend on, or the type of business that you are launching requires that sort of a propaganda. But there is a system or another model which is very, very popular now. It's the lean system, which basically is, it's not being cheap, it's just being affordable. So in essence, if I want to start my business, do I need to buy an office? No. Do I need to rent an office? Probably. Do I need to rent an office alone? Or can I go through an incubator and do a co-working space? So that brings my costs much lower. Do I need to buy 5, 6, 7 laptops? Or do I need to hire just a few people and not a lot of people and then do it gradually? My recommendation in my style generally is for entrepreneurs is start small and build. There's no reason to go big or go home. You're not launching the business so you can have a nice big run and then close the business and leave in a couple of months. You are trying to launch a business so it can stay with you for your life. So in essence, if that is your ideology, then don't go, I want a big spending. Start small. There's so many businesses that started extremely small. But you need to establish what your startup costs are, and you need to really grill your brain and think about it. So you need to consider marketing and branding. You need to consider any kind of equipment that you need to purchase, any kind of capital expenditures that you need to do for your type of business. The things that need to get the business up and existing in the world is a startup cost. When I estimate my startup costs, it's going to give me an indication of how much capital injection I need to make. And if it gives you an indication of how much capital injection you have to make and you don't have enough capital, then you can start thinking about what other sources of funding can you get to launch your business. And like I said in the last session, alhamdulillah, we have Temkeen. So you can go to Temkeen. They have a program called Start Your Business. And there you can go with the money that you have and the money that you can get from Temkeen for your business. If the application gets approved, you can go and you can launch your business with that part. Now, before I actually go out and launch a business, I'm still doing my forecasting, which is what I'm focusing on in this session. After I estimate my startup costs, I need to take a look at my sales forecasts. Now listen, it's great if you have a good business idea. It's fantastic that you have a stunning business idea. But if your business doesn't sell, it's as good as nothing. Okay? So you need to do a business that sells. You need to make a business that makes money. صح? Now, if I'm going to make a business that makes money, I need to estimate my sales. Now, to estimate my sales, I need a couple of elements. The first thing is, how much can I sell? What is my quantity? And this applies to products and it applies to services. So if I'm going to sell a service or a product, I need to see, okay, this is the size of Bahrain. Okay, how many clients do I think I can make? Okay, if I don't know that, maybe I could take a look at the competitors in the same industry. And then I'm not going to do a sales forecast, which is like just for 1 or 2 months. I'm going to do a sales forecast for a full year. And then I'm going to grow it a little bit for year 2. I'm going to grow it a little bit for year 3. But I'm going to be very conservative in year 1. And when I'm very conservative in year 1 is because it's my launch year. So I still have to get known. People still have to know me. I still have to gain the trust of the client. So I do a sales forecast based on how much I can sell and basically the quantity and the price. Quantity times price, and I do an estimation of the sales forecast. For me personally, for year 1 of my business, I did it month on month. So January, February, March, April, May, like that. In the first month, I estimated a very small sales forecast because I was like, maybe nobody knows me, nobody knows my business. I mean, people know me, but they don't know my business. But in essence, will I be able to land? So I do that. And I was very conservative with year 1 because I'm in it for the long run. I'm not in it to go in and out. I'm in it for the long run. So نفسي طويل, like we say in Arabic. So in essence, I did a forecast month on month. I did how much will I sell and the revenue that I'm going to make. How much cost will I incur? So my rent, my staffing, all of that, into that plug and play Excel sheet that you can get from Microsoft Excel. A very important component of the sales forecast is going to be the pricing strategy, because actually your sales in terms of quantity, you can estimate based on the market, based on your competitors, based on the product that you're selling or the service that you're offering. But the pricing is so important because A, it's going to define your revenue and it's going to define how much money you're going to make. But B, pricing is so important because you don't want to overprice your product and you don't want to underprice your product. So let's say that you have a store and you want to sell burgers. If in Bahrain, you have a store that sells a burger for 25 BD per burger and you are located in Khengoul Jidali, do you think you're going to sell your 25 BD burger? No way, right? The location doesn't match. The price is too expensive for the community. 25 BD for a burger is a no-go at all, right? If I was selling the 25 BD burger in Jumeirah, in somewhere in like Madri, that guy Salt Bay, Madri عند دي Nusrat, that with that clientele, with that setup, يمكن. But so you need to understand what suits your client. And there's something that is very important for you to know as well. Overpricing is one thing, and I don't like it. But underpricing is something which I don't like either. Because at the end of the day, you need to understand the psychology of your client. So if your client is the kind of client that wants to buy something that is not very expensive, then and that is the type and the quality of the product that you're going to sell, then go cheap, no problem, if this suits your business model. But if you're selling a quality product, don't go too low on pricing. So you don't slash your revenues and at the same time, you don't sell the wrong branding image to your client. Do you think you will get the pricing right from the get-go? No way. No way, okay? So if you are listening to me now and saying, Noorhan says, I'll put my pricing, I'll do the sales forecast, I'll do my starter cost, مرة واحدة and I'm done. No, you're going to do pricing, you're going to run your Excel sheet, you're going to notice you're not making money. So the price is really low. You're going to change the pricing, you're going to notice, oh, my costs are too high, I need to drop my costs. You're going to keep playing. And this is the reason why the financial planning is so important, because you're going to keep adjusting until you and that business and these numbers are one, until you believe that you can achieve these numbers, until you know that these numbers are achievable. Your question is very nice. What about starting in a little price and gradually increasing? Yes, you can definitely do that. All businesses do it. You start with a little price so long as the price is not underselling your product. بمعنى, if I had, for instance, this water bottle, and the value of this water bottle in the market, مثلا, is supposed to be 2 BD, and I want to sell it for 1.7 BD so I can be attractive to the market. Makes sense. But if I'm going to sell this bottle in the market for half a dinar, then I'm going to be way less in the market, and people are going to be like, yeah, يمكن سعرها رخيص, but it's probably not a good quality product. You don't want people to think that your business is not a good quality product. So it's this balance between going low so you can attract the client, but not going too low so you don't lose the client, him thinking that this is not a quality product. When I get my pricing strategy, the fact واضح لهم ليش ارتفع السعر. When you build a customer base, the most important part with launching your business is building a client base, and that takes time. That is one of the hardest things to do, is building the client base. Now, number 5 is estimating your expenses. Now, one of the important things is we have 2 types of expenses, right? We have the operating expenses, the expenses that I'm going to spend on a monthly basis. So I have to pay rent, I have to pay electricity and water, I have to pay employees their salaries, so on and so forth. But I also have expenses that I'm going to pay on a less regular basis, or stuff that I'm going to pay only when I launch the startup. So for instance, when you launch the startup, you're going to pay on branding, you're going to pay for logo, you're going to pay for material, you're going to pay for stationery. You're not going to print every month. Maybe you're going to have to print stuff every 6 months, every 9 months. So you have to estimate your expenses, and you have to exactly be as accurate as possible about your recurring expenses, because these are the things that you have to pay whether you make money or you don't make money. So as much as you can, they have to be as low as possible, so that if there is a month when you don't make money, it doesn't break your business. Managing your cash flow. Put a big star next to this one. Now, I'm going to launch a business. I'm going to make money. It is not a salary. It is not a job. So I'm going to make income. 1 month I'm going to have a really good month. 1 month I'm not going to have a really good month. So 1 month I have cash flow, a lot of cash flow. 1 month I have less cash flow. So one of the important things is managing this cash flow. So let's say in 1 month I made a cash flow of 10,000 dinars. And this is more than I usually make, a lot more than I usually make, مثلا. Okay, so if I get the 10,000 dinars, I have 2 options. I spend them, I say, oh, I made a profitable month or whatever, or I think strategically and I go, okay, this was a good month, but I'm not guaranteeing that the next month is going to be the same because I'm just new in the startup. So I'm going to take this money and I'm going to try to park it or park part of it just in case I have a bad month later, so that I can be always consistently available with my cash flow. Because in fact, the cash flow is what's going to keep the business running. I have to pay salaries, I have to pay expenses. So if I don't have income, revenue, sales, I can go and take some of the cash flow, the profit that I made earlier, and I can pay for the salaries and the expenses. Raising money for your startup and getting funding is something I'm going to speak about shortly. And once I do my financial plans that I'm talking about, I need to do projections as well. The projections, there's an Excel sheet available on Microsoft for free. It does the projections. All you have to do is مثلا say, okay, in year 1, I made this kind of revenue and growth. I estimate that I can grow by about 5 or 10% next year. Or maybe if my business did really well in year 1, my clients are really attracted to my business, I can say, no, year 2, I'm going to grow by 20% or 30%. So I do projections for the next years so I can be able to estimate how my business is going to grow, how I'm actually going to make money. It's not just that I go into the market and I make money, it's that I consistently keep making money. When I finish a first draft of the plan, if I'm good with the financials, I review it on my own, I make edits, I take my time with it. If I'm not, I try to find someone who is. There are so many mentors in the market that can mentor you with your business, and they can help you for free because you're students. So you just kind of go and say, can you take a look at my plan? They will question your plan. They will tell you, what is this? What is that? So you'll be able to revise and refine your plan and then have a ready financial plan. Now, something extremely important that I believe, there is nothing in the world that does not win, does not succeed without goals, especially businesses. If you want a business, you have to have key performance indicators. Key performance indicators are goals. This is how many clients I have to book in year 1. This is how much revenue I need to make in year 1. This is how much growth I need to make in year 1. This is how many products I need to sell in year 1. All these goals are KPIs that you establish alone or with your team if you're working with a team. And you basically say, guys, this is what we're trying to achieve. Why? Because the moment you launch the business, it's going to get hard. You're going to get locked into so many decisions, handling clients, handling marketing, handling so much, and startups are a lot. So you need to have the KPIs. You can always have your eyes on the goal. You can always know what you're working towards. What is next? What am I doing next? Setting up the KPIs is very business specific. So for instance, for you and your business, you have to feel your business. You have to understand it. So for instance, if you're offering a consultancy service like I am, I can't go put a KPI for me that I want to book 100 clients in a month. That's practically impossible. Secondly, that is not the kind of consultancy that I can handle and my business can handle. 100 clients per month is too many consultancy clients. But I will put KPIs that are suitable for me, for my business, for the workload. But the good thing is I will take these KPIs and I will try to grow them organically in a way that I can sustain and in a way that I can handle. But I cannot emphasize enough how important sales forecasting is. Remember, it starts with A, a pricing strategy. It starts with B, being able to estimate how much of that product or how many of that service can you offer. And then you do the math, price times quantity, and then you estimate your sales. In year one, I prefer that you do it month on month. In year two onwards, you can grow year one into year two, year three, so far with a growth rate. But in essence, sales forecasting is the reason why this business is alive in the first place, so you can sell. So when you do the sales forecasting, if the numbers don't add up, do it again, do it again. Keep doing it until your sales effectively at some point makes money. It might not make money from month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but it should break even at some point that you're going to start covering the cost and actually going into profitability. And this is the point that you need to understand. Something that is extremely important is cash is king and cash flow is queen. Cash is king. Why? Because at the end of the day, when things get tough, if you have cash in the business, you can still keep the business alive. I'm not encouraging to have a lot of cash, but you should have enough cash to keep the business alive. But cash flow is queen because essentially when you have your startup, like I said earlier, you need to understand that you're not going to make money every month. Inshallah, you make money every month, but there are going to be months when things are slower, things aren't as profitable. And so to keep the cash flow moving, it's extremely important to monitor your liquidity and monitor your cash flow. Now, something else that is extremely important for you to look into as well is the working capital plan. Because the working capital plan basically is a term for my operational plan in some way. It's the day-to-day business, okay? Now, I need to sit with myself on an Excel sheet first before I download any template. And I need to think of what are the main things that are part of this plan of my business. So, مثلا, I sell abayas. So I need the material for the abayas. This is part of my working plan because if I don't have the material, I can't sell abayas. I have my khayat or the tailor. I have to pay their salaries. I have to be able to pay for social media marketing because this is how I sell on social media. I need to be able to do the packaging of the abayas. I need a delivery person to deliver my stuff. All of these stuff are called operating expenses because actually without these expenses, there is no business to run. So you need to think about the parts of your business that are operational, and then you need to think about the working capital plan. You need to think of how much recurring expense you have, how much recurring income you have, and how you can grow that accordingly. Now, the good part about also having an operational plan is when you do it, you're now able to really go into the detail of the business. Like you're going to think about the detail. So my packaging costs this much, the sticker costs this much, the driver costs this much, the client printing the invoice costs this much. You're going to think of all the details. So that's also going to allow you to save cost because essentially you're going to find out, yeah, I need to print all these invoices. So what if I print them all at once? It's going to be cheaper. So maybe I print them all at once and keep them, and then I work with them for 6 months and so on. So developing a working capital plan is extremely important. Now, you have a business idea, like I said last time. When you want to open your business, one of the most biggest challenges that you're going to think about is I don't have money for this business, which is absolutely fine. It's understood. But there are so many organizations within the ecosystem that can support you, like I said last time. The first thing is the subsidies that are provided by Tamkeen. So you can have a business, you can go to Tamkeen and you can go to them and you can tell them, I need some money for starting my business. Okay, they gave you the money to start your business. Now you're ready to grow your business. After a couple of years, you can go back to Tamkeen again and say, I want to grow my business. So they give you funds to grow your business, right? So you have the subsidy side of it. Then you have something which I really like, which is basically when you go to an incubator, they're also called accelerators. You can go to an incubator that allows you to save up on your rent expense. It allows you to work with like-minded entrepreneurs so you can get ideas. If you're going through a hard time, you can find someone to talk to. And by the way, the startup community in Bahrain is very rich, but it's not just very rich because everybody's energetic with their businesses. It's very rich because people are willing and happy to share ideas and information, right? They all understand what it's like to have a business. So if you are interested, go to one of the hubs, go to one of these incubators, see how it works, see how dynamic it is. You can be part of that community, and that's going to help you not just with the financing and funding, but also with reducing the cost, but also with the mentorship and the exchange of ideas element. Now, the incubators help you drop the cost and also helps you get the community. But then there are some that are called accelerators. And these accelerators are like when your business starts growing a bit, they can help connect you with mentorship. They can help connect you with funding. So in essence, they can also guide you on the growth in case you don't have much experience on that. Now, again, you can go down the crowdfunding route. So if you guys have seen at the end of the Biban show, they open a crowdfunding platform, right? Which basically means you can go and buy shares of that company. So, hey, I don't know if you've seen it. But basically, crowdfunding is that you collect money from the crowd. So that's another option which we're starting to see happen through the Hope Fund, which is another option that you have access to. Also, there are big venture capital companies that if they like your idea, they can come in, they can buy a share of it and invest money. Angel investors who basically are wealthy people or really people who like your idea as well, individuals who want to fund your business. You can go to a bank and you can take a loan. So there are so many financing issues, financing options. The one thing that I would say is because I believe you're all university students, so while you're so young, as much as you can, yani, if you can avoid taking loans and so on, then by all means try to do that and try to access the available resources that are either free or they are cheap. Now, if I were you, like there are students from University of Bahrain that I personally work with and mentor. They have entered through the Injaz competition for entrepreneurship. They won that competition. They got a little bit of support and mentorship. They entered, NBB has a competition for startups as well. They entered it. They won the prize. Now Tamkeen has a program for young people called Mashru'i. They got into it. They get mentorship. They get funding. Yani, there are also a lot of opportunities that are free of charge, that are available for students and young entrepreneurs, that are free, that provide you with the mentorship, with the resources, with the training, with the funding, with the access, with everything you need for free. So what I'm trying to say from this is there are a lot of startup financing options, but my suggestion to you is if you're a student, if you're young, don't go down the route when you have to pay money still, because alhamdulillah, there's still options for you that you can do this for free, or you can get that access for free. I spoke about this last time, the startup community in Bahrain. I'm a big fan of it. Ministry of Industry of Commerce, pick up the phone, ask any of your questions to the SMEs sector, the SME team. They're so supportive. They're going to help you. Go to Tamkeen, go to the customer service, talk to them. They're going to help you. Hope Fund opens up Biban when you can go and give your business idea. If it's a good one, you can get funding, you can get mentorship, you can get support. Collective Hub is one of many incubators in Bahrain, but personally, it's one that I like. They have an excellent community, an excellent ecosystem, and you can basically set up your business there for very low rent and work with a bunch of really cool entrepreneurs.